that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims the week of September 17th through the 23rd as and asks our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, passed and adopted the 17th day of September, 2024. Thank you.
Well, I think, received this because we had a celebration on Saturday in Vail, Arizona, including the Sahuarita and Vail communities. And we had a very good crowd, and we had fifth graders who had written essays and done art posters and received cash awards for their efforts on the 5 freedoms of the First Amendment. We thought that was a good place to start with these children. We had good support from both school districts and from the communities, and it was a wonderful day, a really wonderful day, and we appreciate it. It's a free event. It's only able to be produced through the funds of donors, and so we've been fortunate to have some donors who believe in what we're doing, and we should all believe in it. We're all benefiting from this wonderful document. Thank you. Picture. Oh.
No, sit down. So.
Thank you. Item number 6 is the presentation of proclamation to Jessica Ogaba and Ed Anderson proclaiming the month of October 2024 to be Employee Ownership Month. This is an item brought forward by Supervisor Christie.
Move the item. Second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Christie, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes unanimously. If you're here for the item, if you want to go ahead and come forward. Thank you.
Who wants to? Whereas employee stock ownership plans have been established in numerous companies around the country, employing nearly 11 million working men and women, and whereas employee ownership is becoming a practice that is instrumental in helping Americans share in our nation's growth and prosperity by enabling our citizens to accumulate significant amounts of capital stock in the business at which they are employed at no cost to themselves. And whereas research has shown that employee stock ownership plans provide a strong and secure retirement that significantly supports families and retirees, and whereas employee ownership has been shown by objective research to provide several benefits, including increased productivity, improved employee retention, and increased employee engagement, and whereas employee ownership has been shown to narrow the wealth inequality gap, and whereas employee owners are more likely to engage in important vocational training, with employee-owned companies more likely to sponsor training that promotes employee job growth and development, and whereas employee ownership has become a powerful incentive for Americans to make the best of their talents and energies in their places of work, thus strengthening the competitive potential of our state's businesses, and whereas employee ownership helps create and retain jobs in our state, and whereas the successful record of employee-owned firms in benefiting both companies and employees merits recognition, now therefore be it resolved The Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims the month of October as Employee Ownership Month, passed and adopted the 17th day of September, 2024. Congratulations. You're all set? Okay, let's get a picture then.
Flip it around.
Turn it around.
Turn it around. Yeah. Get the inside.
Thank you.
If you want to just put plus and yeah. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, on the addendum, page 1, where item number 1 is a time certain at 11:30. I'm going to skip over item number 2 and go to item number 3, and then I'll come back to 2. Item number 3 is a presentation of proclamation to Marjava Ramirez, Gilbert Ibarra, Ana Camarillo, Pima County Toy Drive Campaign Committee, Alejandra Baltazar, Carlat Director, and Chuck Peralta, Recreation Aide, John Valenzuela Youth Center, Frank Garcia, Fernando Bonillas, Tim Rodriguez, and Ray Wilson, Officer Stylistics Car Club, proclaiming October 7th through December 6th, 2024 to be annual Toy Drive Days in Pima County. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
I have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Item passes unanimously, and Supervisor Lee is going to present this. So anyone here for the proclamation, if you can go ahead and come on forward, please.
This is truly an honor because we all know how important toy drives are for our community during the holidays. And these individuals are volunteering their time to really help in Pima County make this toy drive happen and dreams come true for our children. So thank you for all you're doing. Whereas there are many families in Pima County facing financial hardship who yearn to provide their children with holiday season filled with abundance and joy. And whereas Pima County employees, along with employees of the John Valenzuela Youth Center in South Tucson and Stylistics Car Club have teamed up to organize community-wide toy drive to benefit our neighbors in need. Whereas the toy drive will run from October 7th through December 6th, giving residents of Pima County the opportunity to make positive difference in the lives of local kids. And whereas the toys collected will be distributed to children and families in need throughout the community, bringing joy, relief, and hope during the holiday season. And whereas the collection of toys will take place at various Pima County buildings and the John Valenzuela Youth Center located at 1550 South 6th in South Tucson, ensuring accessibility and convenience for community members wishing to participate. And whereas community participation in the toy drive reflects Pima County's commitment to supporting its most vulnerable residents and fostering a spirit of generosity, care, and togetherness. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims October 7th through December 6th, 2024 to be the annual Toy Drive Days in Pima County. Thank you. Who's going to speak? Oh, good. And would you have everybody introduce themselves?
Sure thing. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Gilbert Ibarra with Pima County Department of Transportation, and I'm very, very honored and humbled to be here with such wonderful people here helping support the community with the toy drive for this year. And I mean, with wonderful staff here from Pima County, as well as for the John Valenzuela Youth Center, also Stylistics Car Club, we greatly appreciate it. And first of all, I'll do introductions first. We'll start again first here. This gentleman here, Mr. Chuck Peralta from the John Valenzuela Youth Center, who, by the way, has been with the center for 28 years. 28 years. That's what you call longevity, 28 years. We also have here the director of the John Valenzuela Youth Center, Alejandro Baltasar Carta. Sorry? Carlos. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate you. Welcome. Of course, we got Maharba Ramirez right here. The infamous Maharba Ramirez, ladies and gentlemen, here. We also have Ana Camarillo. Hey, let's raise the roof, you know. We have here Mr. Tim Rodriguez from Stylistics Car Club, officer. Also, Fernando Bonillas, officer, Stylistics Car Club. And Frank Garcia, also officer, Stylistics Car Club. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, we need a photo. Want to come on?
Oh, take your picture.
Sir, congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Frank. Hi, Greg. Nice to see you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Marhaba. Hello, my friend. Oh.
Okay, and the last proclamation is a presentation of proclamation to Richard Noel and Ron Burton, Drum Up for Peace Tucson, proclaiming the day of Saturday, September 21st, 2024. Oh, I'm sorry, Saturday, September 28th, to be International Peace Day in Pima County. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item passes unanimously, and I'll meet you down here. I've been looking forward to this one like all year since last year. So whereas the International Peace Day, a Day of Peace or Peace Day was established in 1981 by United Nations and is focused on many issues related to peace over the years, including human rights, disarmament, peace and democracy, youth and education, sustainable development, fighting climate change, and more. And whereas every year on or near the 21st of September, communities around the world commemorate International Peace Day with celebrations, volunteering, educational activities, and finding other ways to come together with their neighbors and recommit to peace and dignity for all. And whereas in Tucson, the 5th annual Drum Up for Peace is from 4 to 11 p.m. on Saturday, September 28th at the MSA Annex, 267 South Avenida Convento, bringing together our diverse Pima County community for a free, family-friendly event to commemorate International Peace Day. And whereas everyone is encouraged to participate in Drum Up for Peace, which will include food vendors, dance troupes, poetry readings, inspirational speakers, singing, dancing, drumming, and more. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims Saturday, September 28th, 2024 to be International Peace Day and Pima County and urges all members of our community to recommit on that day and the days that follow in our homes, neighborhoods, schools, businesses, and places of worship to peace and dignity for all, passed and adopted this 17th day of September 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to apologize for the interruption of the famous phone that y'all just heard. That was mine. And that might have been anybody, so I didn't want to just answer and waste any time. But it's an honor to have, first of all, Chairman, Board, it's an honor for y'all to give us this proclamation again this year because, you know, it's all about peace and we need more peace than now more than ever. So International Day of Peace is actually, I'll get Richard to get into that, but we're going to celebrate it on the 28th at the at the annex place. And I just want to tell everybody, please come out to that because peace begins with you.
All right.
So I just want to extend from what Ron and my lady have said here just now. The acronym for peace is pursue excellence and cherish everyone. We are not just doing this event to entertain people. It's about finding inner peace. So a lot of people who don't have inner peace, it's a reminder that there is agencies right here in Pima County that assist you instead of making the wrong choices. And this is a demonstration of how we use the art to find peace in our day-to-day life. So there's people from all walks of life, all ethnicity, showing that in every culture, there's ways to find peace through the arts. So I just want to give you a little demonstration. Are you all ready? All right, this is not America Got Talent, okay? We're going to just sing a little song. All right, so the song goes like this. We are all one. I'm going to play a rhythm, and I just want you all to join. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We are all one. We are not alone. Together we are strong. Together we are strong. Let's start to say. Let's start with joy. Let's start with peace. Hey, hey. Oh, hey, hey. Oh, we are all one. We are not alone. Together we are strong. Let's start today. All right, see you all at the event. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
See, I'm not crazy. I do a lot of stuff. Thank you. Good seeing you. All right.
All right. Okay, going back on the regular agenda, we have a call to the public. Thus far, we have 17 speakers, and so every speaker will have 3 minutes, and I'll let you know if that changes. If anyone else would like to speak, please go ahead and put in a card. So citizens attending meetings shall observe rules of propriety, decorum, and good conduct. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or who becomes boisterous while addressing the board may be removed by the sergeant at arms if directed by the chair. Such person may be barred from further audience before the board. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stomping of feet, whistles, yells, or similar demonstrations shall not be permitted by the chair, who may direct offenders from the hearing room. With that, we'll go ahead and call you up in threes. Mike Aaron, Nelida Sprun, I think, and Gisela Aaron.
My name is Mike Aaron. I'm a Pima County resident. First off, I want to give kudos to Sharon Bronson and Steve Christie about Addendum 5. The Pima County Sheriff female attended a Christmas party and she was raped. Now, what has Chris Nanos done? Not a damn thing. What Sharon Bronson asked for was a formal investigation from the Attorney General of the state. They didn't do anything. I'll read you the last portion of each one. This policy may have been violated by command staff. It was violated. The second one, policy may have been violated by a sworn officer who was off duty at the scene, a party goer. He didn't do anything. The policy may have been violated by command staff who were on the scene and received direct reports but failed to document
their involvement. They didn't do anything for 80 minutes. And the witness, which is a deputy, told them that she was being raped by her sergeant. Did nothing. The last one, policy may have been violated by a detective failing to properly secure evidence. I was an evidence technician, the senior one. So I know about evidence of rapes. The Pima County Deputies Organization, which is the union, voted. They have no confidence in Chris Nanos. Yeah, he was the one that was investigated by the FBI for RICO and using illegal funds for award banquets and starting a cafeteria run by a niece who was in his command staff. Y'all need to call Sheriff Lamb and get his detectives down here to investigate and arrest the officers, I don't care who they are, and put them in jail.
Thank you. Nellie Sprint.
Happy Constitution Day, members of the board, and Madam Chair. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I am an immigrant to this beautiful country, legally immigrant, and I could have jumped the wall or crossed the river, but I chose not to do. I believe in respecting the laws of every country, just as I want others to respect the laws of my native land. When I first arrived in America, I could not speak, read, or write English. I had to learn the language, adapt to new customs, navigate an unfamiliar society. I lived by the saying, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. I found work in various fields, including cleaning restaurants, childcare, supporting the elderly, taking every honest job I could find. I never took a penny I didn't earn. Coming from a third world country, every opportunity felt like a blessing to me, and where I found equality for everyone. So I learned proper English because I knew that to seek for better opportunities, I needed to communicate effectively. I discovered that America is the land of opportunities, filled with diversity and equality for all. Along my journey, I had support from good American people. They provided me with great opportunities. I had faith in God, that God will guide my steps in the land of promise. With hard work, honestly, and the love of God, I found that prosperity and the American dream is within reach of everyone who works hard. In all my years here, I have never experienced racism. Yes, there are rude people everywhere, in any country I go to. But to me, these are isolated incidents and not examples of systematic hate. Today, Madam Chair, I would like to ask you to reflect on the power of your words. Hate speech and lies can plant seeds of division, inciting violence and hatred. We have seen in the recent times with voters' attempts against our former leader. This is not who we are as a society. We must not adopt a do as I say and not as I do mentality. So you have people throwing out of this very building for talking obscenities and profanity. So we must lead with integrity, truth, and respect for all. I plead to you to stop the hateful speech, to stop spreading lies, to stop pouring venom into the hearts of people. Words really matter, especially from those in positions of power. So let us all set as example of respect, decency, and unity in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Gisela Aaron. Excuse me, followed by Gisela will be John Backer, Steve Bullock, I believe, and Corey Stevens.
Good morning. I second what she said. I'm also a legal immigrant, and what I see is your unfettered spending and the invasion at the border, funding the invasion at the border is killing the American dream. But I'm here today to strongly condemn Adelita Grijalva for her posting on the Facebook this sign saying F you MAGA in Spanish. Every 2 weeks, Adelita Grijalva lectures us on being civil. This morning, just before public moment, she read to us how we are supposed to behave. I'm sorry, I'm upset. Yet Grijalva, an elected official, cannot and has not lived up to her own standards of civility. And this letter serve as an official ethics complaint. What an immoral example for a mother and a former TUSD board member. Shame on you. I hereby endorse Val Romero, who's running against Adelita in District 5. Ms. Grijalva, apologize to the president because your words matter, and sowing hate and division has consequences like the assassination attempt of our president. You are listed alarmingly on the Communist Party USA website. And so is your cousin, Mayor Regina Romero, and your father, Raul Grijalva. He bragged that he was a Saul Alinsky kind of guy. The Democrat Party, I say, the Democrat Socialist Party is an existential threat to our constitutional republic. You are unfit for public office, and I hereby endorse Daniel Gutierrez Jr. For those reasons above, I demand that Ms. Grijalva be denied a raise of $20,000. Importantly, you are an election fraud denier. I provided evidence to you that you lost your election in 2020. Dr. Doherty warned us that Pima County is still using the same machines with algorithm and the tabulators. Audit the machines or vote Amish. No machines, no más máquinas. Alto, es un delito electoral si votas y no eres ciudadano de Estados Unidos. Votar como extranjero es un delito penal que conlleva la deportación. Thank you. John Backer?
Good morning, Board. Thanks for the opportunity to come here to speak. Supervisors are always county supervisors, not just when you're sitting at the dais. Facebook posts, which include vulgarity, divisive comments, and hateful comments, have no place in our world today. There's too much hate. I really appreciated the folks today who came up and talked about peace, but this is not a way to be peaceful in our society today. Chair Grijalva posted such a vulgar comment on Facebook that I can't repeat it here today. And I feel no hate for you. I disagree with the decisions you make, but you have to get away from feeling the hate because it'll eat you from the inside. And on a personal note, I wanted to wish your father well, although we don't agree on political things by far. Cancer is a horrible thing and no one should have to face it. No family should have to face it. And I wish your father well, and we look forward to the time we'll be able to see your father again. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, is it Wilcox? Yeah. Please, can you come forward? Wait, did I have? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Then Corey Stevens, Anastasia Sitakis, and Christy Broderick.
I will transmit some precious words kept hidden in my heart for 40 years, and possibly only I know and remember them. Long ago, some Hopi sponsored reggae concerts at the Hopi Community Center. In June 1984, they brought their first Jamaican singer, Freddie McGregor. I was more or less invited. There I was, cassette deck rolling, big Hopi Community Center, large enough to hold the entire tribe, elevation 1 mile, Indians standing around the walls. A pause in the music. Freddie calls out, dub effects on the voice. Oh yeah! Tonight, I also realize there's a lot of children in here. And I'd like all the children to say yeah when I ask you, are all the children ready tonight? Yeah. Ask me, Why I say I want to know, how many children in here tonight? Is all you children ready? Yeah. Oh, I understand. There's small amount of children, lot of adults. Are all the adults ready? Yes, you ought to be, because right now, there's another speaker. Thanks.
Thank you. Corey Stevens?
Adelita, your actions are a direct threat to our constitutional republic. The dissemination of hate speech and divisive rhetoric only serves to embolden those on the fringes of society, pushing them towards violence. On Thursday, Chairman Adelita Grijalva posted a picture on Facebook of a sign with Spanish writing that says, "F you, MAGA, no more orange," with her quote above, "Welcome to Tucson." Your hypocrisy in this matter cannot be overlooked. The words you speak at the beginning of Call to Public bear no weight, have no meaning, and are hollow words spoken by a hypocrite who deems herself above reproach. Where is your civility, your decorum, and avoidance to use profanity? It is high time for change. These actions are synonymous with a third world dictator. Yes, a third world dictator. You have proven yourself to be. Maybe you are threatened by the idea of making America great again, because everything you stand for, your ideologies, the horrific policies, and the millions of taxpayer dollars wasted, spent here in Pima County by the complete and antithetical, that's right, antithetical ideologies of making America and Pima County great are the opposite. So I say to you, Viva MAGA! Viva MAGA! Viva MAGA!
Thank you. So just a moment, we now have 2 additional cards. So we're at 21 speakers. So every speaker will have 2 minutes.
No, I want my 3 minutes. I was here before the other two. That is not fair. I'm going to speak my 3 minutes.
I'll shut off the mic at 2.
I'll keep going.
Thank you.
How dare you? How dare you?
Oh, hold on a moment. I'm sorry.
You don't get to do that.
No, ma'am, it's the rules that we all voted on. Thank
Really?
so much.
You follow rules? You don't follow rules. I'm
Stop the
sorry.
meeting totally. Please go ahead and have a seat. Thank you so much.
No, I'm going to
No, I'm not talking. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I want my time back and I want 3 minutes. He only gave me 2.
Which one is yours?
Carrie Alcueva,
Okay, hold on a moment.
counted as 21.
Okay. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're still 20. We have one individual that refuses to give their name, so I can't really call them. So if you don't give your name, then I won't call. Okay, then we'll have 3, everyone will have 3 minutes because we only have 19. Thank Matt, sir. I will ask you to leave, please. Go ahead. Thank you.
Whew. May God have mercy on you. I am here today because you, Adelita, have violated not only the constitutional rights of us in Pima County, you have also violated the rights of the entirety of Pima County. You have violated the very trust that people in your district have used to put you in power. Sadly, they are disappointed as well. There are a great many Democrats that are against what you did. You laughing and cajoling and mocking everything that certain individuals stand for is completely inappropriate. If the shoe was on the other foot and a Republican was doing this to you or to Harris or anybody else, all hell would be breaking loose right now over that. And especially if it was someone like Steve Christie or someone else like Mr. Dave Smith here, the chairman of our party,
God help them if they ever did anything like that. But you, on the other hand, think you're exempt. That's the whole problem of the Democrat Party today. They think they're exempt from the rules. You have the nerve to sit here and lecture us and tell us that we can't say certain things. You are held to a higher standard as an elected official. You don't have those rights anymore. Whether you think it was on a private Facebook page or a private enterprise, everyone saw it. Everyone saw it. And the fact that there was messages around now saying that you will not apologize makes it even worse. You have no humility, ma'am. You need to get some humility. You need to apologize for your post. You need to apologize for how you encouraged people in your district and people who follow you on your Facebook page to incite violence against others, like myself and people behind us. You don't get that opportunity, ma'am, and not anymore. You do not. I'm sorry, there's too much hate, too much division. I am tired of turning around and seeing people are glad that people shot at President Trump. People are glad in your Facebook page that said, too bad they missed. And you don't say a word. You encourage it. Yeah, well, you know, that's exactly what happened. And you don't get that opportunity. You are the one that incites the violence. You are the one that causes the uprisings here in Pima County. What this man said here, we do need more peace today. But unfortunately, it's not coming from you. And it's not coming by the encouragement of any of our leadership in this state. We know where we're at right now. And the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, you don't. You continue to incite violence. You continue to incite the hate messaging that is going on right now in Pima County. It is you and people like you, madam, and you don't get that opportunity anymore because we will make sure you are gone. Vote Val Romero.
Christy Broderick. And after Christy, Tim Locks, Shirley Ricard, and Daniel Butrace.
We know you speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Good morning, Supervisors and Madam Chair. My name is Christy Broderick and I live in Vail. On this day in 1787, the Constitution of the United States was signed. This document established the structure of the federal government while ensuring certain basic rights for American citizens, one being freedom of speech. Using offensive words and phrases to convey political messages is protected under the First Amendment. However, in these meetings, that right is restricted. We are held to a set of standards when addressing this board, the same standards that to which we hold you as representatives of this county in public situations. Last Thursday, Chair Grijalva posted a picture of a sign that included a profane phrase in Spanish to convey a political message, and the caption read, "Welcome to Tucson." It was directed at President Trump and his supporters as he arrived in Tucson for a rally that day. I commented on this public post and asked if it was appropriate as chair of this board to post something like this when in previous board meetings you have promoted ending hate speech. You deleted my comment and you blocked me from commenting. The post was gone the next day, so I believed that it had been deleted, but not before it had been widely shared, including by Garrett Lewis on his radio program. However, a friend of mine texted you in your business chat and told you that it was inappropriate, and although you had deleted it, you should apologize. You replied saying you had not deleted it and you would not be apologizing for it. So I believe you only changed the privacy settings, which is fine. Freedom of speech applies to you as well. However, as an elected official who represents District 5 and as chair of this board, it was completely inappropriate and unacceptable. Dwight D. Eisenhower said, quote, "The supreme quality for leadership is integrity," close quote. Your divisive posts contribute to the political violence that is happening in our country right now. And no elected official should be taking part of that. At the very least, you owe a public apology to the registered Republicans, many of whom are Trump supporters in your own district. But because of your position as chair of this board, I believe you owe a public apology to the tens of thousands of Trump supporters in Pima County. Mistakes are forgivable, but only if one has the courage to admit them. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Locke?
Since you're not going to let me follow the rules, thank you, Jan Lesher. Thank you, Steve Christie. The rest of you, I'll see you in court.
You know, it's unbelievable that you have a proclamation, you bring these two gentlemen here spreading love and peace, and then you put something that you did up on Facebook. I now see that your hypocrisy has no bounds, Adelita. After the Butler assassination on Trump, you sat up there and spoke about violence not being acceptable. Yet the sign we speak of today clearly suggests you're likely disappointed that Donald Trump survived the assassination attempt. A little history of the Democratic Party. It's not pretty. Let's see. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 would never have passed if it hadn't been for Republicans. In the 64 legislature, 74% of the Democrats voted against it, while 80% of Republicans voted for it. The Senate had a Democrat supermajority, yet 69% of the Democrats voted against it and 86% of the Republicans voted for it. It was a Republican president who proposed 40 acres and a mule to freed slaves, and a Democrat who nixed it. The Democrat Party is the party of slavery, Tom Crow laws, segregation, the Confederate flag, and the KKK, which is why your party tears down statues and attempts to rewrite history, and why you, as a former TUSD board member, helped tear down the education system. Now you're trying to tear down Pima County. Shame on you, Adelita. You support our cowardly county recorder who engages in maladministration and malfeasance, and it's disgraceful. Sadly, so many of your followers are so blind to the truth. They are being used by people like you who want them to believe that you're all about diversity, equity, and inclusion. What you're really about is power and control. That is so selfish. Sadly, they stand in line and repeatedly drink the Kool-Aid that you serve up. Your actions suggest division, not unity of any kind. You are the chair and should demonstrate more professionalism. Obviously, you're not capable of that. No mas, Grijalva.
Thank you. Shirley Ricard?
You may recall, not so very long ago, you warned me sternly not to use a certain word in this assembly. Thereafter, I had the blatant audacity to say the word pedophile not once but 3 times, and was subsequently banned by the communista that you are for even setting my pinky toe into these austere surroundings, until my proponents and supporters from the GOP stepped up and said, no mas, Grijalva. Fast forward to this week. Lo and behold, this very same person, you, who was appalled by my use of one word, has taken it to an entirely new level by daring to personally have signs posted which slanderously maligned our president. Let's look at the rules and standards that apply to you. County policy states, all employees of Pima County shall maintain the highest ethical standards. Did you get that, everybody? Ethics in the conduct of county business, and avoid circumstances that may create an appearance of impropriety or cause members of the public to have a negative opinion of the county. Any of you out there thinking about how this impacted you? While acting in their official capacities and in the discharge of their duties, county employees are expected to be professional, respectful, fair, unbiased, honest, civic-minded, service-oriented, and fiscally responsible at all times. Pray tell, how exactly is the phrase "chinga tu madre" in the least considered respectful, comrade? Sam Brown, if he was here, I'd be calling on him, but I'll call on you in his stead. Shouldn't this be an issue for the legal department, of which you are the immediate oversight? This truly unconscionable behavior
by a senior official in Pima County must not be tolerated and requires censure. I'm sure that your children are so very proud to have that example set for them. Shame on you, Adelita. Your dad should be rolling over if he were in his grave. I commend all of you. I command all of you as representatives of us to censure her actions, censure her words, and stop this insanity. You are not the proponent of peace and goodwill and sweetness and light of all things that you purport yourself to be, ma'am.
Thank you. Daniel Gutierrez. Sorry, I'm used to saying two R's.
Chair Grijalva.
Oh, yes.
For the record, Supervisor Hines has joined today's meeting.
Thank you. And after Mr. Gutierrez, we have Robert Royce, Dave Smith, and Sharon Green. Please go ahead.
All right, I was going to speak on agenda 33. I think I wrote 34, but I meant 33. Okay. In that, we're talking about spending almost $19 million to care for a bunch of criminals. And I call them criminals because I am Daniel Gutierrez running for the United States Congress, and I have been all up and down the border. I have been at every port of entry. These people that are coming here as asylum seekers are required to enter only through a port of entry, through a legal port of entry. Here in Tucson, they are not entering through a port of entry. We don't even have one. Sassabee is closed. They're coming around the end of the wall. It's about 14 miles down. The Border Patrol are picking them up. And while they're picking them up and transporting them, and I was just there 2 weeks ago, there's another hole in the wall. While they're picking them up, drug runners are bringing the fentanyl across Mr. Chilton's ranch. They're leaving all the empty backpacks that are in the videotapes that Mr. Chilton has. The backpacks are being left on my father's property, which he owns property on the other side of Chilton's ranch. Okay. What's happening to our community is the reason I'm running. My family's been here since the 1800s. We've never had so much divisiveness in my community as I have now. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
Robert Royce.
Robert Royce. I don't really get the MAGA, Make America Great. I'm all for that. But when you say again, look at the 19th century, 65 years of slavery. Is that great? 100 years after that of Jim Crow. Is that great? Actually, 105 years. I don't get it. Because America was never great when we had slaves, and it was never great when we had Jim Crow, and it was never great when we were lifting, dishonorably stealing land from the native peoples. We can be great, but not by copying the past. Federalism is institutional corruption, is political patronage, is political repression. Remember the Sedition Act. Anti-immigrant rantings, remember the Alien Act. Political or religious intolerance. The Republican candidate for president is not a conservative. He is a classic federalist. Federalism gave us an enormous debt and almost destroyed the country. So anyone who thinks that the so-called conservative Republican candidate is really Republican needs to study a little history. I've never voted for the Republican candidate. I was particularly offended by his demonization of Mexican people from the very beginning in 2016. I spent 3 years of my life in Mexico. I've been treated more respectfully down there than I am up here. They taught me the meaning of unrequited love, which I didn't learn in Chicago aside from family. So yeah, he has been, I mean, I'm trying to find the word here, but his intolerance put me off from the beginning. Now, $8 trillion in deficit spending in 4 years. It's certainly not conservative political thought. The Republican candidate, by ending civil service and turning our government into patronage and cutting taxes for almost everyone, people should understand we're looking at a $2.5 trillion deficit over 4 years. It's $10 trillion. The 35 trillion becomes 45 trillion in 4 years. And our recent 20% depreciation in the dollar is going to be followed by another 25%. If you're a Republican, you'll enjoy my.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Smith? Okay, so we're back up to 20. Unless someone wants to withdraw their comment, we're back up to 20. Okay. So, Mr. Smith, I called you before I got the cards. I'll go ahead and honor the 3 minutes.
Oh,
and
thank
then-
you. Yes, because
And then we'll.
I
we'll
put
go to
extra
the-
notes down because I had an extra
There
minute
you
here.
go.
So
Thank you.
gosh,
Go ahead.
yeah, all righty. Happy birthday first before we kick off any kind of issues this morning. As you can see, it's a very intense morning here. A lot of people are quite upset. And obviously, I have to say, growing up in Arizona, for those people that aren't aware what the issue is here, growing up in Arizona, it's a very multicultural state, and most of my friends spoke Spanish. And one of the things you learn very quickly growing up there is there's 2 things you don't call somebody. Number one, you don't call them a billy goat in Spanish unless you want to fight them, very honestly. Secondly, you don't tell them to have coitus with a mother, unless you want to have a fight, obviously. And every culture has some language similar to that. But in Spanish, those are the words that exactly were sent to me while I was just leaving the Trump campaign meeting there in downtown here last week. And I was stunned to see that Adelita, the chairman, had put that out because obviously we're all about decorum here. And I think everyone in this room is stunned by that lack of decorum. And the thing is that you look at it, and just a few days later, a second assassination attempt went down, and the media immediately went to work. And that's one of the things we all see, the media. That's one of the reasons I think there's so much hostility. And Hillary in 2016 called us, those who supported Donald Trump, deplorables. And that, for the first time, really, we've never ever seen, if you study political issues, there've rarely been any candidates or any candidate, period, who attacked the constituency. And that started 8 years ago. It's never stopped. It continues to this morning. You turn on, if you listen to all the critiques from MSNBC and on, and it made me realize coming here, it doesn't matter what I say, because I'll be called a gadfly in the paper or some other name. Because, no matter what I say, how stupid I can be or how smart I can be. I know this little guy right here, Remington, he loves me no matter what, unconditionally. You'd say, oh, emotional support. Well, you guys have the emotional support press. And no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you get supported. This county has a horrible crime rate, highest taxes, and you go, so, well, we're not raising the rate, we're going to raise the value of your home. Yeah, that's the ticket. And people who aren't paying attention are getting more and more frustrated. At the same time, we have to ask ourselves, how do we make a change? How do we do these things? I'm wearing a shirt that says appeal to heaven. And that traditionally was a call to the right to revolt. In America, the right to revolt is to vote. Every 2 years, we have a right to do a revolution to change. And gang, this year we have a chance to change this Board of Supervisors. I hope everyone in this room understands that, regardless of what the doting press says. I hope everyone listening here finds out the facts. Steve Christie stands alone for the adulthood in this group. I'm still quite angry about what I saw last week, and I ask you to apologize for it. But at the same time, the outrage and anger you see in these people in this auditorium right now tells you this is just the crust, the people with the courage to come speak. Thank you.
Sharon Green, followed by Ralph Polo and Isabel Garcia, and that every speaker from now on will have 2 minutes.
Good morning. I'm Sharon Green, a resident and registered voter of Pima County. Please consider these thoughts by Dr. Rich Swear, a conservative with a conscience. Extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice, and moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue. I have little interest in streamlining government or in making it more efficient, for I mean to reduce its size. I do not undertake to promote welfare, for I propose to extend freedom. My aim is not to pass laws, but to repeal them. It is not to inaugurate new programs, but to cancel old ones that do violence to the Constitution, or that have failed their purpose, or that impose on the people an unwarranted financial burden. I will not attempt to discover whether legislation is needed before I have determined whether it is constitutionally permissible. And if I should later be attacked for neglecting my constituents' interests, I shall reply that I was informed that their main interest is liberty, and that is that cause I'm doing the very best I can. Our country is being led down the path of immorality and evil, which only can result in the demise of our constitutional republic without God's intervention. When we pledge our allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, we are committing ourselves to the constitutional republic for which it stands. Our founding fathers were inspired by the supreme ruler of the world, God Almighty, when they wrote our founding documents. We were to be a nation ruled under God with inalienable rights only He can give us, not the tyrannical rule by which we are ruled today. They agreed that immoral and religious people could maintain, only those can maintain this republic. Where do you stand? Are you willing to support our Constitution, or will you continue to make decisions regardless of what our Constitution says? God bless you and give you wisdom to uphold our country's values and documents and bring it back to the city lit up and high.
Thank you. Ralph Polo.
Every time it's my turn to speak, I get the 2-minute warning. And by the way, yeah, they voted for it, but it was the socialists right here, these 4 against 1, why we have these rules. I'm the 3rd legal immigrant that's speaking today. I come from Cuba, a communist country. And I was 11 years old when I came here all by myself because Castro wouldn't let my mom and dad leave. I didn't know English, I didn't know anything. So anyway, I spent 20 years in the Navy protecting you guys, you socialists. I deployed all over the world. And then I was in the intelligence community for more years protecting you, and I left the intelligence community when it went rogue. Now, Adelita, what you said, where I come from in Cuba, if you said that to someone, those are fighting words. Fighting words. So, in my opinion, it's hate speech, and you prohibit us from talking about hate. So I think that as the people,
It's hate speech.
it's hate speech, and we should walk you right out of here. But you have protection from the corporate media, who is not going to say anything about it. In the meantime, our president, former president, President Trump, the man, has been attempted suicide twice. Why? Because the corporate media promotes it.
Thank you. Isabel Garcia, followed by Christine Fausman, Melinda Shuren, and Roger Score.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. Last year, you were great enough to pass a Stop the Hate pledge, and I commend you for that. This morning, I came to talk about and remind ourselves in this horrible political atmosphere that we decided to keep the hate speech out. And I come here and I see a movement that's been involved in nothing but hate, clutching their pearls today. I'm really shocked at the hypocrisy of what I have heard this morning. The outrage that is being expressed is the outrage we should have. I'm a 5th generation Tucsonan, and what my mother saw and what I have seen is beyond me. This was a little Mexican town. It had a little Mexican placita, for all you that don't know. And then it became the United States. And we're still here. We are still here and we make this country great. Immigrants are what have made this country great. I want you as the board to study very carefully everything that's coming up. The Wall Street Journal and other big conservative entities have clearly stated that our economy right now is soaring compared to economies across the world. Economies across the world who aren't doing as well as we are. And why is that? Why are your companies doing as well as they do restaurants and construction? It's because of the immigrant workforce. The Wall Street Journal said it clearly that it's the immigrant workforce that has made America prosper. Who were the 6 that died in that bridge? It was none of these relatives. It was 6 immigrants that were working at 2 a.m. And so I urge you to please stop that.
Thank you. Excuse me. When people are speaking, it's very distracting to hear all of the chatter behind. So please stop doing that. Thank you. Go ahead.
I was next, Christine
Yes, go
Bauserman.
ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Christine Bauserman. I believe there does need to be a disciplinary consequence for Adelita simply because, as we can see here, this is an elevation of the rhetoric. You're going to have people in here with signs saying, F you, Adelita, what are you going to do? And if something happens, you may be able to pin it back to this point. So I want to say about that, but also I believe both parties are splitting. I am MAGA, but I do believe both parties are splitting. So if you are RFK Democrat, we join you on our side because he even has crossed over again with the split. And if you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, we also have an issue in common with him is to stop all endless wars. And that is a large percent of your constituent. And I hope they realize that we align more with your beliefs. But what I wanted to talk about, and I do have a report to send to all of you, are the 3 executive orders Governor Hobbs signed in October, and this is to do with election integrity. The first one, facilitating voter registration. I've been watching for your budgets to do that. The point I want to focus on is who is validating that is a U.S. citizen, because we're doing it now through housing in the medical community. They can't do it. So is it being done? And there was an oops just happened in Oregon last Friday where 300 voters, it was a data entry error. There's 2 other ones in my report, but the other thing is the processing of the federal only ballots. They're being processed as if they're a party. So there's statutory requirements to be a Republican or a Democrat or any party. They're not doing the work for that, but they don't know what to do with these ballots. So they just threw them in the registry, and now they're in the process as if they were a party ballot. And I don't think, that's just kind of how it happens. And now we've been doing it for 10 or 15 years. But I wonder if, what are the mechanics behind that? And I'll give you a copy of my report. Thank you.
Melinda Sherwin, followed by Roger Score, and our last speaker is Paula Gutierrez.
I have a message for you from President Trump. When I win, those people who cheated will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences so that the depravity of justice does not continue, does not happen again. We cannot let our country further devolve into a third world nation, and we won't. Please beware that this legal exposure extends to lawyers, political operatives, donors, illegal voters, and corrupt election officials. Those involved in unscrupulous behavior will be sought out and caught and prosecuted at levels, unfortunately, never seen before in our country. Now, to follow up with what my friend Shirley said, the residents of Tempe are also in an uproar over the electioneering, because that's what you're doing, Adelita, by supporting that sign. During work hours, you are electioneering. As the city attorney in Tempe ignores ethical codes, as probably our city and county attorney will ignore your ethical violations. They're in Tempe, they're doing a Zoom promotion for Kamala's 2019 book. Okay,
Roger,
that's on the
score.
25th.
Thank you. Your time's expired. Roger, score.
Good morning, everyone. Ms. Gralva, I'm glad you align with the ill people like Dick Cheney, the murderous Dick Cheney. Did you guys know in 2020, CNN, during a 1 week of prime viewership, had 2.5 million viewers in a week of prime time? Today, CNN, during a week of viewership, has 83,000 viewers. That's because you people are nothing but puppets for the media. Even you, Steve, you're a puppet. You can't do anything that the media will be upset about, because the Chamber of Commerce and the drug cartels, they'll get a hold of the media and straighten them out. We no longer, you don't control anything. You sit up here and stare off into space, and you have no control. That's all you do. You don't make decisions. The Chamber of Commerce and your puppet masters decide for you. And another thing, my grandkids got sent home from school yesterday. All 4 of them, from high school to grade school, due to threats at school. But yet you don't allow security at the school. Oh no. Why do you have security here? I don't care about you people. I'm worried about the kids going to school during the day. We need to get some armed guards and people protecting our children. Same you get here.
Paula Gutierrez. That's our last speaker.
Hello, my name's Paula Gutierrez. I'm Dan Gutierrez's wife. My husband's running for Congress against your father. First of all, let me give his and our sympathy. We hope the best for him. Secondly, how dare you put a target on 50% of Pima County? Okay. Third, the media. I'm calling out the media. Your father has not run for Congress for a year. Okay, I understand he's sick, but the people of Pima County deserve to see the candidate. Okay, a little nervous up here. We've been campaigning for over a year. Not once has my husband got to shake your father's hand. Nobody has seen him. He's put one picture out. Not one statement we believe comes from his mouth, comes from spokespeople. We, the people, deserve to see the candidate who is running for office, who says if he's fit now, he should be able to come out and prove it. Thank you.
All right, the call to the public is closed. Do you have any colleagues who wish to respond to a criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda? Okay, I will take a moment to say I have been asked by a few of you today to apologize to Trump or Republicans, depending on the speaker, for sharing a picture of a sign that was put up in Tucson last week. I find it completely hypocritical for you to demand of me what you don't of your candidate for president. I'll make you a deal. I'll acknowledge wrongdoing when Trump apologizes for the racist, misogynistic, sexist, inflammatory comments he's made about women, people of color, LGBTQ, immigrants, and frankly, anyone who disagrees with him or isn't one of his fans. The next 49 days are going to be very trying for our community, and we'll have a lot of healing to do after the election. In the future, I'll commit to pausing before sharing posts that might incite the kind of harassment and threatening comments and messages from people mostly outside of my district and outside of the state of Arizona. The other thing I would like to clarify is we were told, item number 33, I just want to clarify that that is the acceptance of a grant. Yes, it is tax dollars, but it's federal tax dollars that we're accepting of a grant. All right, thank you so much. So we do have an executive session item. We also have a time certain at 10:30. Should we do that first? How do we want to roll? Okay, are you all ready? If we move you up? Okay, great. So we will move to our time certain item 10:30, which is item number 10 on the regular agenda, the Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona presentation. This is a presentation of Malia Chavez, Chief Executive Officer of the Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona, to provide an update on Community Food Bank and overview of services it offers. Thank you so much. And do you have a presentation? Thank you.
This morning. Thank you. And I think it should be queued up.
Thank you.
All right.
Please go ahead.
All right. So thank you. Good morning. I think it's still morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to present again around the overview of the Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona. I have with me Greg Tipton, who's our COO today, to answer any of the questions around the data and information. And Claudio Rodriguez is here also, who is our VP for policy and our advocacy team. So we have the presentation here. Next slide, please. So we are one of 4 official Feeding America food banks in Arizona. We are the only one in Southern Arizona. And we were Food Bank of the Year for Feeding America in 2018. Next slide. So at this point, the numbers just came out this past month, and currently 1 in 8 people in Arizona are experiencing hunger and food insecurity. And we have 1 in 5 children. It's the 18th highest in the country. Next slide, please. So overall in Arizona, we have almost 1 million people who are experiencing food insecurity. And of those 1 million people, almost 300,000 of them are children. And this is the latest number from the Department of Economic Security and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So next slide, please. This is an overview of the work that we do in Arizona, and these are just some high-level highlights from the work that we've done this past year. So we had over 100,000 hours in volunteer time this year, which is amazing because we can't do this work without volunteers, and some of you have even come and volunteered, so thank you so much for that. We have a very generous community here in Arizona, in Tucson. We have packed over 500,000 of our emergency food assistance boxes, which is a growing number. You'll see in a moment, we have about a 25% increase just in Pima County alone. But we also serve over 23,000 square miles here in Southern Arizona. So it's Pima County, Santa Cruz, Graham, Greenlee, and Cochise. And of that, I want to go to the next page. We have over 400 agencies that we partner with, and we'll go into a little more detail about that in a moment so that you can see the highlights of who we serve. But overall, there's just a picture of the area that we cover, which again is all 5 southern counties in Arizona. But let's zoom in the next slide and just really focus on the work that happens here in Pima County and that you all have been wonderfully supportive over the years and helping us do the work. We have emergency food box programs in Tucson, in Green Valley, Amado, and in Marana. We have a child nutrition program that runs throughout many schools, after school programs, our libraries, and family resource centers. And we also have Care Dad Community Kitchen, which provides thousands of meals for our seniors, as well as our community meals for partner agencies, shelters, as well as our unhoused community. Next slide. So our emergency food assistance programs, just to highlight those,
They are done through various models, everywhere from coming to distribution at our site at Country Club to providing mobile distributions in different areas like Avra Valley and Picture Rocks. We have one in Ajo. And then if we want to go to the next slide, we'll get into the numbers. And Greg can hold me to these numbers. So in Pima, we have 26 million pounds, over 26 million pounds this last year that was served here. In Graham, Greenlee, and Cochise and Santa Cruz combined was about 7 million pounds. So just to give you some context, the bulk of our work is here in Pima County and our surrounding areas. Next slide. So this amounts to about 218,000 households, which is about 715,000 individuals. That is a huge number. And again, like I mentioned earlier, this is about a 25% increase in Pima County. It's a 22% increase overall in all 5 counties. Next slide. So this is a slide around our partner agencies, just to give you a sense of how much we administer. And these are our top 5 biggest partners. And shout out to Tom McKinley, who's here today from ICS. They're one of our largest partners and help us with also our home delivery program for those that are homebound and cannot come in to seek their services. So we have Caring Ministries, Interfaith Community Services, Gap Industries, Sawarita Food Bank, and Community Resource Center, as well as the Greater Vale Resource Center. So these are partners that help us to make sure we reach the community need that is far and wide in this area. And then our, of course, distribution sites are Gabrielle Giffords Resource Center at Country Club, our Green Valley Resource Center, and the Amado Resource Center. Next slide, please. Okay, and of our monthly distributions for food here in Pima alone, we deliver over 369,000 pounds of food every month, which is a ton. And the different mobile distributions that we provide through this are in Ajo, Picture Rocks, Avra Valley, and at Tucson House, which was a lovely joint program with the city of Tucson. Next slide. And then in Green Valley, we have served over 706,000 pounds of food this last year. That's about 7,600 households and about 26,790 individuals. So that number is huge and continues to grow in Green Valley as well. And in Amado, just comparatively speaking, can go to the next slide. It's 525,000 pounds of food, and it is 5,638 individuals and 17,000 households. Keep going. In Marana, I wanted to highlight, we have 719,000 pounds of food. It's 10,209 households and 36,000 individuals. We continue to provide services. If you can skip the next slide, and then the next one. So our school pantry programs are 26 pantries throughout all of Pima County. We serve about 3,000 children, and it's about 525,000 meals. Next one, please. We are currently expanding our school partnerships and pantries right now to Choya High School, Roadrunner Elementary School, and Children's Advocacy Center. Next slide. And then to highlight with Care Dad Community Kitchen, which provides, again, those senior meals and hot meals for folks and grab and go meals. We serve about 1,500 meals a day, and that's a partnership with Catholic Community Services, Lutheran Social Services, and Interfaith Community Services as well. Next slide. We can go to the next one. I just really wanted to get down to the new programs in Marana because the last time I was here, I was speaking on all of the different changes in Marana. So we have new partnerships with Roadrunner Elementary. We now have a mobile distribution there the 3rd Wednesday of every month on site at the school. The garden education will launch a new garden at Quail Run Elementary School. We have garden education at Marana High School planned, as well as an expansion of services at Marana Family Resource Center, which has been an amazing partner. They do the temporary emergency food distribution as well, and are working on a garden. And for the Yoemi Pueblo Community Pascuayaki Tribe, in their new resource center, we're working with them. So as soon as they're ready to reopen, we will provide support and try to figure out having a pantry on site there. So I wanted to quickly bring Claudio over and just highlight some of the work that is happening. You can go all the way to the end to the Santa Cruz River Farmers Market and the farm. He can highlight that.
You have 1 minute.
Yeah, hello, thank you. Yeah, some of the things I want to highlight is our work is vast, not only just providing food for folks who need it, but also trying to work within our food system, how to connect with farmers to create that opportunity for them to really create that an economic development piece for our county, for our city, and for neighborhoods just across southern Arizona. So one of the things that we do is also small gardeners are able to also sell their excess produce for extra income, but also increasing the access when it comes to generating healthy food. So that means that if you grow it, they eat it. Kids grow it, they eat it. I worked in school gardens pretty much since I started at the food bank, and kids, you know, if they grow a beet, they'll eat a beet. If they grow kale, they'll eat kale. So we just got to get kids growing. And then the other piece of it too, if we go to the next slide, or the last slide, so we also have a great partnership with y'all through Las Milpitas Community Farm, where we train and develop and build capacity amongst neighborhood members within that area to learn how to grow their own food. We provide the seeds, we provide the water, and y'all have provided the land with such a great deal. And it's a 6-acre operation. It's a lot, 6 acres may not seem like a lot, but really it's quite a bit of land. And we've also have a cultivator program where folks who do want to scale up and learn how to grow and provide more food to restaurants, to hospitals, to schools, we're creating that pipeline for more of that economic development, really changing that food system. And all is thanks to y'all support, previous and past board members. And I hope that y'all continue that partnership because it really does change people's lives, which is one of the main parts in our mission. So I just want to say thank you for your time, and I pass it back to Malia.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, like Claudio said, the work that we're doing today is really empowering folks and helping us to try to make a difference in the future as well. And a big part of that is education. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I did just want to say thank you again for your time.
I know. I added a couple minutes because I know you had a lot of stuff to
Thank you.
cover.
I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Board members, questions? Supervisor Scott and Supervisor Lee.
Ms. Chavez, I want to thank you and your colleagues for being with us today and for all the important work that you're doing in our community. What do you see as the greatest needs for the organization moving forward? What's the plan to address them, and how can the county help?
Yes. Our largest need right now is just resources for purchasing food. I think that's the biggest one. We've been doing advocacy at the state level as well to try to make more of an investment in the true cost of purchasing food, not just funding the emergency commodities programs through the USDA, but locally, we end up needing to cover gaps oftentimes when there isn't enough to serve everyone who's coming to see us. So those increased needs are really what we're focused on in this next year. We've built a really strong procurement and sourcing team to help us bring in more donations and to secure more grants for that very purpose.
Could you let us know what some of the key pieces of legislation you're looking at moving into the next session? Because it's possible we could follow up with our lobbying team, given the important role that the community food bank plays throughout the county.
Yes, I will actually have an updated list of those items tomorrow. We have a meeting with the Arizona Food Bank network as a whole, and we are meeting as a whole group with all of the food banks across the state to really agree on what those initiatives will be that we will support that have to do with the work that we're doing here locally. So I will have a better answer for you in a few days, and I'm happy to follow up, and I can send that out to the whole board to let folks know. Yeah,
you can
absolutely.
send it to the clerk of the board, then their staff will make sure all our offices get it.
Absolutely. Unless, Claudio, do you want to highlight anything?
Maybe just quickly highlight some of the work that we have done. So we've done a lot of great work with the state, working with Grijalva, your pops, and then Cisco Money, which has been really great partnership of bringing them out to tour, getting to understand what the food system looks like, which Cisco Money has been very supportive of, supporting our work, voting for changes and not restricting access for people to get food, especially within its district when it comes to seniors and veterans. We've also done a lot of work out with our local representatives for them to also advocate and on the farm bill, even though it's been pushed back a couple of years. So hopefully we got good traction this next time. And we were just with Secretary Vilsack of the USDA, which apparently we're going to have some great news in the next couple of weeks about when it comes to connecting our farmers to markets. So yeah, we're on the ground.
More to come.
Thank you. Supervisor Lee.
Thank you, Chair Grijalva. I just want to thank you all for all the work you're doing in the rurals, especially in District 3, Ajo, Amado, let's see, Arivaca
Yes.
and 3 Points,
Mhm.
Robles Ranch, and Marana. I know that there had been a difficult split with Marana a year ago or so, but what I'm real pleased about is serving the communities, especially the mobile service, and also continuing to give those areas the food boxes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your support too. Any other questions? Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here and for
Appreciate
giving
it.
us an update. We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. So we have a couple times certain items and we have some guests that are waiting for items. So I'm going to try to, if it's okay, we'll bounce around a little bit so we can accommodate some of these. We have item number 31. If we can jump to that, it is Southwest Gas Corporation to provide a non-exclusive franchise agreement to operate natural gas facilities within the public right-of-ways. No cost for 25-year term. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. We also have item number 17. These are, this is the Single Mortgage Revenue Bond Program, Resolution number 2024-54. The Board of Supervisors approving the IDA Authority of Pima County for a single-family mortgage review bond program. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Christie.
do we have a representative here today?
Yes, we do.
Good. Oh, hi. I just want to bounce some things off because I'm hearing a lot of different points of view on subsidizing public housing and subsidizing rent and rent controls and things about the housing industry in general. And I just want to get your response and maybe you can shed some light on some of the confusion or the noises out there. But it would be helpful if you could respond to the fact that I've heard from housing authorities and housing individuals that are involved in the industry that by providing funds for down payments for mortgages to buy homes, that what we're doing is actually giving more people the opportunity to buy homes that there is no inventory for. And then when that inventory is of such a small nature and more people have the ability to buy that small inventory, that it actually raises the cost or the retail prices of those homes. Have you heard that type of scenario as well?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Christie, no, we have not. We have definitely, on behalf of the Industrial Development Authority, we've been aware of the inventory issue, and that's what it is. We do not have a sufficient number of affordable homes in Pima County. The number and the demand on them has been increasing over the last couple of years.
But when you give people the opportunity to help for down payment purposes that they wouldn't ordinarily have, doesn't that make those buyers that feel larger on a shrinking or non-existent inventory?
There has not been a differential in the cost of the homes that people are participating, that first-time home buyers. This is a first-time home buyer program. And so it does not change the rate when a program is available versus when it is not. Typically, we do this in $25 million tranches, so that of the total amount that's available, we'll do it only in 25 million. That's 100 homes. So there's no differential for when those homes or when the loans are available versus when, and we'll have the next 3 months after this program is completed, there won't be any differential for down payment assistance. There are other down payment assistance programs. There are federal and state programs as well. There are some lenders have their own programs as well.
So, Madam Chair, the availability of the funds to help first-time buyers with a down payment or folks for a down payment. The amount that is given to do that is commensurate with the available inventory?
No, there's no relationship to the inventory. There are federally tax requirements on the income and the purchase price for the first-time home buyers. But the number of homes are out there. If people can find the homes, qualify for the homes, then that will make that available to them. The lender works with them whether they qualify for all of the down payment assistance or none of the down payment assistance. We don't know that. We only know what the lenders are telling us is available and out there. And what we have seen, as I said, we've put out $150 million in the last year and a half. But at the same time, we've also seen housing appreciation rather substantially. So I would not say that it's any relation to what we're doing. It's overall, because it's actually countrywide that we're seeing housing appreciation.
So, Madam Chair, the appreciation you've been seeing has nothing to do with more people being able to buy those homes that are appreciating.
I'm not sure I'm following. I'm sorry.
When prices go up or appreciate, it means usually there is less inventory and more demand.
Correct.
So what you're saying is we can provide the down payment monies, but it has no impact on the appreciation of the homes?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Christie, we have never seen a study or indicated that the down payment assistance has an impact on overall the housing prices.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Thank you for being here. Now we are on time certain item of item number 16. The monthly financial update, discussion, direction, action regarding monthly financial update on Pima County's financial performance. Administrator Lesher.
Chair Grijalva, and before I turn it over to Director Moulton, we have been transitioning through our computer system. So you'll notice today our financial update is providing some information, but we do not have all of the normal financials we would have at the second meeting of the month. So what we're going to do is add to the first meeting in October, where we do not normally have a financial update at that time, because the new system will be able to have made the transition. So you'll get an update at the first meeting in October, and then in the second meeting in October, we'll be back on the normal tick-tock of the reports. But we do have some information that Director Moulton can provide today.
Good morning, Chair Grijalva, supervisors. The financial update that I have for you this morning focuses on 3 areas. Next slide, please. The first is the economic decision guide and memo, then an update on vacant positions and where we stand with that policy, and then finally an overarching budget timeline. On the economic decision guide, we review 6 indicators that we monitor. Those are on the slide in front of you. 3 of these indicators remain unchanged from the last quarter. Gasoline and unemployment both have improved in their outlook. They have moved to a stage 1 and have changed from unfavorable to favorable or to stable, which is good news. Overall, we believe the economy remains at a stage 1 trigger, and there have been some slight improvements over the last quarter. Next slide, please. So we're going to focus on 2 of the indicators that we believe we are paying close attention to. The first one is the inflation indicator. You can see that huge spike in the middle of the graphic that was in 21, 22, and the early part of 23. Where we are right now is we are slightly above the Fed target, but we are seeing improvements. We expect this to drop below the Fed target in early 2025. That's what all the economists are indicating. So that is good information. Next slide, please.
The next area that we're focusing on is housing, and specifically housing affordability. This is a new slide in the packet for you. What we have here is the red line is indicating housing affordability in Pima County. The red line is the percentage of houses which are affordable to families earning the local median income. As you can see, it is on an unfavorable trajectory through 2023, where that is the last full year of data that we have. We are monitoring this, and we'll continue to have this in our economic decision guides in the future. So are there any questions on the economic decision guide?
No.
Next slide, please.
Did you have a question, Supervisor Christie? Oh, okay, thank you.
The next slide deals with vacant positions. On July 1st, the board approved a new policy, D2216, which relates to vacant positions. And we also put in place an administrative procedure, 22-84. Both of these have been implemented, and the policy calls for an elimination of positions that have been vacant for more than 240 days. And the first elimination period is on October the 1st. So at the end of August, we sent a memo to the board, as well as to all of the directors or elected officials that had positions that would be subject to elimination, so that they had an opportunity to review them, and then according to the policy and the procedure, to appeal if they wanted to make an appeal for those. As you can see on the graphic, there are 55 positions in the general fund, 43 in the non-general fund departments, and then 58 grant-funded positions. All of the appeals by elected officials and department directors were to be to either Administrator Lesher or the Deputy County Administrators by last Friday. So they are in the process of reviewing those appeals, and we should have all of that adjudicated by the end of next week, so that on October the 1st, any positions that either were not appealed or the appeal was denied will be eliminated on October the 1st, and we will be bringing a report back to the board on what departments, which positions, and what the value of that was.
Okay, I do have a question on this slide. I thought that, I don't see the value in eliminating grant-funded positions. And so unless you can explain that there's a match or some other way that it's going to be of a, in the positive for our budget, it doesn't make sense to me, because if those are positions that we need to fill in order to spend down those grants, if we eliminate the positions, then
Chair, how about we use the vacancy position, the vacancy update for grant positions primarily to help us see if we think we're going to hit the spend rate on the grant. That generally they come in and are appealed for just that reason. They are grant funded. It's a little bit different. It's not impacting the general budget. But if we have a grant funded position that has been open for a year, we need to find out what's going on with that grant, or how are we doing to actually fulfill the grant. So it's a tool we use the same way. We're getting to the point where many of the vacant positions at this point are allowing us to see where we have hard to fill positions, and we do address it.
So this is not necessarily, you're just outlining the grant funded ones. So, and you're monitoring them to make sure that those programs are going to be able to spend down, because that would be,
that's correct.
It's very difficult to ask for additional grant funding if you haven't spent down what was already awarded. The other question I have is for non-general fund. Can you send us some information on what those budgets are? Because I sort of have kind of the same question or question and concern that I do for the grant funded one. That if it's not going to come back into our general fund, I just wonder,
and we can certainly give that to Chair Grijalva, and that's when you look at regional wastewater or much of the health department. We have special revenue funds. We monitor those in the same way, just to make sure that we have some consistency in the way we're dealing with employees across the counties.
Okay, so the big ticket here is the general fund.
It is.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Chair
Supervisor Scott?
I had a question also about grant-funded positions. When we were discussing the new policy, it was pointed out that grant-funded positions are a relatively small percentage of the total workforce, but they're a very large percentage of the number of vacant positions. So I would appreciate it if the report that we get on October 1st gives some explanation to the board of how we have tried to figure out how to deal with that conundrum, or those conundra, I should say. Secondly, would also like the report to address any exceptions that are granted, because our understanding when we passed the policy was that exceptions would definitely be rare, and would like to know when they've been granted and the reasons for them.
Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Next slide, please. The last slide deals with the budget timeline. As you are aware, and Administrator Lesher just mentioned, we are implementing a new financial ERP system. As part of that implementation, we also implemented or installed a new budgeting system. The system's name is Adaptive, and it is where all of the forecasting and the budget creation will occur. And we are a couple of weeks behind in our implementation, hence the reason you are not getting a financial numbers report today, but we are catching up. And as Administrator Lesher mentioned, you will be getting a report on October the 1st. And on the appropriate cadence from there. The timeline you see in front of you is the general timeline that we have used in years past. We will be putting out a detailed timeline for department directors in the coming weeks, but basically November through January, the departments create their budget and then they submit their requested budget to county administration. February and March, county administration reviews the budget, reviews any supplemental requests, reviews the capital program, puts together the recommended budget, which goes to you in April, and then the tentative budget in May and the adopted budget shortly thereafter. So this is the general timeline that we'll be using again this year. And if you had any questions related to that, or if you wanted any changes to this timeline, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Chair Gerhalva.
Supervisor Scott.
Thank you. We were told that there was going to be a memorandum to the board on the implementation, the initial implementation steps for the Prosperity Initiative sometime this month. Wondering if that is still the timeline for getting that memorandum to the board, and if it can address how the Prosperity Initiative policy framework will impact this budgetary cycle. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Christie?
Yeah, we think that this update should be provided to the Board of Supervisors prior to the meeting. That would allow us the time to go through the update and to have more ability to dive deep into it to see if there's any more questions, rather than there is no background today. So we're taking it directly from you. So we've heard of the October 1st deadline. I would hope that that would be able to be extended towards earlier than that. So we as board members could have an opportunity to digest this, because we don't have any background right now. And I know you mentioned something about data not being able to be compiled right now because there's some kind of an issue.
Thank you, Chair Gerhalva and Supervisor Christie. What I and Director Moulton said is a reminder that we're moving through the transition in the ERP system. And so as we're entering that data crossing into the new system, that's where we have it a little bit slower, which is why you don't have it today. And I've said you will have it for October. And I hear you would like the information prior to the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Any Supervisor, am I back? Hines. I was going to say Dr. Just sort of pausing.
That's right.
Supervisor Hines.
Just what is the, I guess, isn't inflation improving? I think you said stable, right? Like what would be a favorable inflation? Because I mean, it keeps kind of going down, which we like, right?
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Hines. Yes, inflation is continuing to tick down. So it is leveling off. It is not on an upward trend, which would be unfavorable. So the continued downward trend is what we would consider stable and a good thing.
So the options are stable or unfavorable, but not there's no favorable.
At this point, those are the criteria that we're using, stable or unfavorable. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Is that the end of your presentation? All right. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to addendum item number 6. It's time certain at 11. Too many papers. Oh, how are you? Let me introduce it. Sorry, I have too many papers flying around here. Thank you. So this is the Regional Transportation Authority RTA next draft plan presentation. Thank you, General Ted Maxwell, for being here.
Thanks. Chairwoman Grijalva, members of the Board of Supervisors, thank you for asking me to come talk on RTA. We're passing down the latest version, and that includes updates that were decided at the last board meeting. I know I've got 7 minutes, so I'm going to hit my timer, and I hope to get through it. But Carolyn Campbell's already laughed at me and said, "There's no way you're getting through in 7 minutes." She knows how I can talk. First off, I want to open the invitation to each and every one of you. I'm more than happy to come meet with you individually to talk about through both the importance of the RTA next as well as what's in it. And it's great because then I don't have to worry about the open meeting loss. So that's a big one for me. So what is this plan that's in front of you today? What this plan in front of you today isn't, what it isn't, I'll start with that, is what's going to the ballot. Whenever it's forwarded to you to then forward to the ballot. What it is it's, in my opinion, as close as we can come right now as the RTA board without going out to the public and the community and getting their input for what they see in it. Is it a plan that I could see going to the citizens for a vote and keep RTA next going forward? Yes. Are there parts that I like about it? There's parts I love. Are there parts I can't stand about it? Yeah, that's true too. But in a community like Pima County, you're not going to have a plan of such significance that's not going to have parts in it that some people like and some people don't. The question I've asked everybody to think about is if you take a look at RTA 1, and yes, we've got issues with finishing RTA 1, but has the RTA had a positive impact on our infrastructure, our transit, and our total environment of our transportation system? And my answer to that is yes, but it's time now to push something forward. We've spent over 6 years between the Citizens Advisory Committee, the Technical Management Committee, multiple municipalities working on coming up with a plan. And we need to get this out, get feedback from the community, then we got to find the leaders. Much like RTA 1, it wasn't until significant community leaders, such as Supervisor Christie and State Senator Farley, both got behind it, two totally different sides of the spectrum, and said, there is enough in this plan that I think is good for the region, we'll go forward with it. So that is what I'm asking the board to do, not this board, but the RTA board, is to push the process forward. Because if we keep delaying trying to make the perfect instead of the good, we're going to find a position where this region will lose 2/3 of its regional infrastructure funding. And that's significant. And as my role in the State Transportation Board, I can tell you, the state and the federal government will not come to save infrastructure, regional infrastructure in Pima County. So we need to consider that when we go forward. What I'm going to talk you through real quick on this plan is what the changes that have occurred from the last one that was discussed and kind of put forward at the board. As of now, the RTA board has said, this is the plan we will build off of before we consider moving it forward to the community. Not much has changed in the roadway elements. The biggest thing, and that's the front page, that's the one that's got the biggest number on it. It's about $1.4 billion over, or $1.1 billion over 20 years. The biggest change there has been the addition of the Marianne Cleveland Way widening project. Other than that, these projects have been the projects that have been on the plan for months. We also list now the deferred projects in there, so people remember that we've moved 4 projects out of RTA 1 into RTA Next. On the back side of the page, you're going to see the other elements. And it's very important when we get to this phase that we talk about something. The RTA board voted unanimously to consider the pessimistic economic forecast. 80% of the time, the revenues should come in above that pessimistic view that came from the University of Arizona to us. 80% of the time, it should be above that. But because of the problems we ran into with 2008, the economic downturn, and the funding shortfall, bluntly, of RTA 1, combined with increasing prices, they want to take that pessimistic view. But this plan builds out all the way through the baseline surplus. So we're going to talk about the money above pessimistic, below baseline surplus when we look at this plan. You just have to realize that anything in the baseline will only be funded if the regional sales tax proceeds come in above the pessimistic view. On these, the safety, ADA, and active transportation element, one of the additions on this plan from the last is it added ADA up there. It gives the communities the opportunity to add ADA projects if they need to in some of the funds that are allotted to them. The environmental element is going to be one of controversy because the board moved 25 million out of that at the last meeting to put 25 million of contingency fund back in. Moved it out of the pessimistic view, did not move it out of the baseline view. It is now below the line in the box down there. The transit element is solid with the amount of money there. It's being flushed exactly how to best show it and explain it to the voters, but effectively, it is intended to do no harm to the current transportation program and provide opportunity for growth through the city of Tucson through a couple different options. The one thing I'd like to point out that to me is the biggest change in this is the addition of arterial rehabilitation. Arterial rehabilitation is reconstruction of roads, but it's effectively limited curb to curb. It addresses the concern about the roads, the regional roads, because it can only be used on arterials. And right now, there's only money allotted to the city of Tucson, but it opens up the possibility for funds, depending how they come in, that it could expand to include inside unincorporated Pima County if the funding comes in at a sufficient level. If you look at the box at the bottom, that talks about the baseline revenues. I'll tell you right now, the city of Tucson is taking the biggest risk in this because a lot of funding is in that baseline surplus. And when I call it baseline surplus, that's below the baseline, the amount below the baseline and above the pessimistic. It includes more money for contingency funding. It includes that other $25 million for the environmental element, but it also includes, and to me, the most significant piece is the $190 million for arterial rehabilitation that would be available in the city of Tucson to fix the roads that even those of us who do not live inside of the city of Tucson drive on all the time. That will give you the total down to the baseline views. Made it by 15 seconds. And so I guess Carolyn's going to buy me lunch later today.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Questions?
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Christine.
could you reiterate again the issue about rehabilitating roads within the city of Tucson? Does that mean that maintenance will be paid for by the RTA for the city of Tucson roads that are the beneficiary of RTA?
What it means is rehabilitation is reconstruction. It's limited to curb. It doesn't allow for any changes in the road. This saves you don't have to do design. There's other elements that don't have to be addressed. Will it reconstruct the roads? Yes, but it will take them back to a level of new. Supervisor, I know you've got a lot of experience on the ADOT board as well. And so you understand the difference between just a mill and fill, but this is a 2 to 4 inch removal of pavement, replacement of pavement. So effectively have given the road a new life.
And Madam Chair, Mr. Maxwell, are there going to be any other instances in unincorporated Pima County where this will happen?
Supervisor Christie, Chairman Grahal, that will depend on the funding that comes in and then what the city or what the county decides to do with the funding. The interesting thing about this is we've allocated all the funds up to baseline revenue. Remember, baseline revenue is just that. It's the middle estimate. So if you're a betting person, 50% of the time the revenues will come in above that. 50% of the time they'll come in below that. So if they come in above it, then that money becomes available to our RTA board to make the determination when working with the municipalities and the jurisdictions that make up that board. And yes, those funds could be used in arterial rehabilitation in Pima County if deemed necessary, and if it's what Pima County is asking for as well.
And Madam Chair, one final question. Does this plan, do those items that you've just highlighted, do they adhere to the original mission of the RTA, that nothing will be changed from the original plan as the voters voted for that plan?
So this is the RTA Next plan going forward, which would only be considered with the 4 projects that were moved out of RTA 1 into RTA Next, would only go with the 0.5 cent sales tax. That would 0.5% tax. I always like to make sure that it's correct. It's a 0.5% tax, sales tax. Those would all go towards these funds. The statutes regarding RTA Next doesn't change. The administrative code really probably won't change, not against the statutes, that's for sure. But the RTA 1 Next projects that are still due to be completed have to be completed with other non-RTA Next funds. So none of the RTA Next funds, as I understand it, can be used to fix to complete the RTA 1 projects. That's why there's a lot of concern about what is the RTA going to do to complete those RTA 1 projects. But as far as the statutes, nothing's changed. I believe you are, Supervisor Christie, you're fully aware that the only thing that's changed in our statute since 20 years ago was the ability to go from a 0.5 cent to a full cent. This board has been very clear. We're going to stay at a 0.5 cent. We think we just want a continuation by the citizens in the community to fund regional infrastructure the way we've funded it for the last 20 years.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ted.
Any other
You're welcome,
questions?
Chair Grijalva,
Supervisor Scott?
I'm going to defer to either Supervisor Hines or Supervisor Lee, but just wanted to make a comment at the end about the county's position. Do you have any questions?
No, other.
They didn't put their hand up.
We didn't, but that's. I'm always happy to talk. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Grijalva, thank you. Thank you. I just want to say thanks to you, Ted, for your leadership, and also our Vice Chair, Supervisor Scott. But what I think is really, really critical is what you said. We're not going for more of a tax. So the voters, the individuals that are paying for this, they won't see a change in the RTA taxes because it's for 20 years we've been paying it.
And that it's very important to remember because it is a new tax. The courts in Arizona have been ruled. We have to make sure we're saying every time we go to the voters for a tax, it is a new tax. But the fact of the matter is for the last 20 years here, for the last 40 years in Maricopa County, the citizens of that region have used a 0.5% sales tax to fund regional roads and plans. Most importantly is the regionalism. There's a lot of conversation amongst many of the municipalities that they could go on their own, that they may be better off. But then we totally have we've put aside the regional concept to this. Is the plan perfect? No. Is it time to go listen to the community and see what their thoughts on this are? Absolutely. But from a perspective of a current sitting member of the Arizona State Transportation Board, and from my perspective of working in a public policy organization, this reduction in regional funding for roads would have a significant impact. There's a lot of funding, and you'll see it in the light gray, that goes to some of these projects that then won't necessarily not be there for the region, but won't be there for a regionally based project and program. And if you look at, especially for unincorporated Pima County, if you look at the projects that are on this list, the ones that are going to be in the future, whether they're Cotero Interchange, whether they're Tangerine, whether they're Thornydale, those are going to impact the residents of unincorporated Pima County and Pima County to an incredible extent if they aren't built out. So is the continued funding for the transit element. There's a large amount of money every year that goes from RTA to support our current transit system. So if people sometimes forget that it's not just adding roads, infrastructure, opportunities. It also supports the transit system, which makes up part of the regional transportation system because it is a collaborative system.
Supervisor Hines.
Thank you. And thank you for being here. And thank you to Supervisor Scott, to yourself, and to Jan Lesher, Carmine, everyone involved in this, because as I've been trying to kind of follow along, catch up, learn about this, it just seems like, cats on like cocaine, sort of just like going every which direction. It seems very, very difficult to do this. I'm not trying to make light of it. It seems very, very challenging. So you have a lot of different people going in different directions with different interests. And as you said, we do need something going forward. A few questions. One, why was the 25 million moved out of the environmental element again? That was just a vote of the board, or?
Chairman Grijalva, Supervisor Hines, that was a decision made at the board. The concern is in this plan, I had removed all of the contingency fund out rather than a notional placeholder, because you have to have in the below the pessimistic line, which is the line that will go to the ballot with these other caveats. You have to have a line if you're going to move money into it. So we had to keep that contingency line there, but I moved it all out. There are several members of the RTA board who were concerned of starting the plan with zero contingency funding, which would obviously put the early programs at risk if they either had overruns or once we go to design, they're coming in higher than the dollar amount on here. So we incorporated 25 million out, moved 25 million down in order to provide some coverage for those early projects that are coming out the chute.
All right. And I did have a meeting with the executive director in early 2021, I think, just kind of an introduction and hey, how are you? Zoom, because everything was Zoom. We didn't even meet for like a year, by the way, because there were no meetings. We just did it from home. So during which I was assured that we would have funds. Obviously, this is not what happened, but we would have funding for all the projects, some major projects in the city of Tucson, which is the vast majority of my district, and District 2 is city of Tucson. So I'm kind of paying particular attention to that. And I did not, it was not confidence inspiring to be assured like, oh, Supervisor Hines, please, everything's fine. All projects will be funded. Worry not, we are here. I'm like, oh, all right. And I didn't worry. And then betrayal. So we've also been, horribly embarrassed as elected officials to have our past county administrator kind of leave and not tell anyone. So we kind of look like idiots. And I don't like that. I don't like that. We are charged with oversight. And I know that the RTA PAG is not, just a Pima County thing, but we represent everybody through all 5 districts and all the residents of Pima County. So we contribute like $300,000 a year to PAG. And I'm kind of thinking of some of the words of Councilmember Dahl. I'm very concerned that we go forward with a program that pulls as much together as we can, but we continue with leadership, which I find to be not reassuring. And to lose 35 of your 55 team members over 6 or 7 years, including 5 agency directors abandoning ship, those are all warning signs. And after what we went through with Mr. Huckleberry, and after what, I don't know, I hope it wasn't a lie intentionally, but what happened to me personally, one of my first official duties to figure out what this PAG RTA thing is and who's in charge of it. And it seemed like I was misled, at least. I just, from your perspective, does it make sense to continue with that? This is not your goal. I want to know, should we not be looking at different leadership? However this moves forward, we're kind of ministerial. If it comes to us, we kind of have to put it on the ballot, right? But I want a plan that makes sense, but it seems like it's been so very difficult. Transparency has been difficult. Like, how much money does PAG RTA have? Where does it go? I don't know. Maybe I'm just not paying attention. I have a staff member who is dedicated to this, and she keeps me pretty up to date on things. I want this to work. I want to be able to vote for it, but I just do not feel confident in the leadership of our executive director for all of the reasons I stated, and I would love to hear your thoughts.
Chairman Grijalva, Supervisor Hines, thank you for that question. going to give you probably a longer answer than you're going to want, but it's going to cover most everything. And we'll come back to the executive director at the end. First off, RTA 1 and RTA Next are two different issues. There's a lot of people that want to say, well, if we can't complete RTA 1, then let's not do RTA Next. Really? I mean, my answer to that is, did RTA 1 benefit this region? And even some other members of the RTA board, when I've asked that question, their answer is absolutely. Well, then why aren't we moving this forward? Well, I'm not sure if we're ready to go there. Okay. I believe, remember, we get 2 times as much funding from the RTA than we get from the state and federal combined. Do we have regional needs and requirements on roads and infrastructure and our transportation system? Absolutely. So I like to separate those conversations, because come June of 2026, if we haven't passed a RTA Next, that funding will go away. And guess what? We're still going to have the issues with RTA 1. We still have to finish those. From 2021 to today, I'll address that. There has been a significant change since 21 in the cost of projects. Now, what we faced early in RTA 1 was the recession, 2008, that we dropped us well behind revenue projections. We are now up to where we're really close. For a couple of years, we were exceeding the forecast revenue coming in for the last several years. And now I think the latest report, we were slightly under, but we're basically on the baseline of what we expected. But the costs since 2021 have skyrocketed. On the State Transportation Board, we were approving contracts that were 40 and 50% above the state transportation, state ADOT's projections. So it took off. They've stabilized. In some ways, they're coming back down. Maybe the estimations just gotten better from ADOT. I don't know, but we're not having to approve contracts as many to that extent. We're approving some that are above and some that are below. But the costs, which did skyrocket in the next couple of years, so now the revenues that are coming in are on forecast. The costs are higher. We have to address their RTA 1, and it's going to be a lengthy, long discussion on where we get those funds, because PAG serves many purposes. And for a lot of these projects, we've used PAG money to complete the projects. That's probably not the way we want to go in the future, because there's a lot of other responsibilities PAG has. And you remember, if this RTA Next doesn't get approved, the RTA authority is still there because it's in statute, it just doesn't have any money. PAG still is going to have all their responsibilities, and a lot of their responsibilities will be towards now the roads and infrastructure that we don't have any money for. So I think it's pretty critical, but that's the thing. The biggest thing I'd say about the executive directors, I think it's one of those situations everybody's going to have to make their decision for themselves and what they believe. Do I think he was intentionally misleading you? Absolutely not. What I would tell you is right now we're about to enter a phase of talking about the RTA 1 projects that is going to be rough, because the money isn't there to complete them all. And depending how much and how deep you've looked into that any of us, including those of us that sit on there, have looked into a lot of the files we've received, you can see that's probably been known for several months. What I'm hoping to hear from the executive director is, I made this very clear to him, so I'm not going away from his trust, is you need to be vocal and make it very clear vocally what we can and can't do and what options we have to complete RTA 1. We owe the completion of RTA 1 to the citizens. But if we let the lack of having a plan right now on RTA 1, I get that makes it a little bit more difficult to lift. If we don't move forward with RTA Next, we're not going to have the continuation or the ability to have regional funding later, and we will be in worse shape as a community. I'm betting that it'd be very difficult for the Board of Supervisors to come to an agreement to raise a 0.5-cent sales tax to fund the necessary road infrastructure inside unincorporated Pima County. But I think it's going to be harder even for some of the municipalities, although they believe they're going to get it. But my big concern is when they get it, they won't have access to that other fund that comes with it if it's RTA money, and they won't be able to complete the projects on a truly regional-based perspective. Well, Mayor Joe Winfield was very clear. 13,000 citizens, and I live in Oro Valley, for full disclosure. 13,000 citizens leave Oro Valley every day to go work in the city of Tucson, and 10,000 citizens come from outside of Oro Valley to work in Oro Valley. We all use these roads. We all benefit from them, and we all know the parts of the roads that we just can't. We get frustrated. roads don't score real high on polling until somebody's mad about something, and then it all of a sudden becomes a priority.
The only issue that I wanted to touch base on is something that Supervisor Hines already brought up, is the preserving the connectivity for the wildlife corridors and the linkage funding. I'm concerned about the cut there. And so I hope that minimally we're going to be able to see a way to transition some of that back, because I think that that's critically important. And as a district that is almost predominantly city of Tucson, I'm a big fan of ensuring that there's equity across funding for that. And so that was one of the things that I know Supervisor Scott and I talked about, and I know Supervisor Hines jumped in, because I think D2 and 5 are the ones that really, I think the time that I've been on the board for the last 4 years, we've approved less than a mile in District 5. So, all of the other funding, and especially through RTA Next, is anything that benefits the city really does directly benefit our district.
Absolutely. Chairman Grohol, appreciate that comment. And I think that there's some things to remember about the city's position and what they are doing on this. One, the city was the only one that said, this is what we need.
Great.
Well, this plan's there. It meets what they're looking for in the pessimistic view. And former city manager Ortega was the one that proposed. We got more confidence in the region. We're willing to take a relatively low percentage compared to both the tax that's received inside the city of Tucson. Although obviously a lot of us spend a lot of money in the city of Tucson, and that's received there too. But we're also willing to take the risk that we believe in the region is going to do well. That's why so much of the baseline surplus is going to improve city arterial roads. So those are the roads in your districts. It's the roads that we folks from inside and outside the city use every day. And so I think that kind of provides some of that alliance. Now, I was very clear. We obviously, when we made that move last week, we got a lot of, I definitely received some feedback on why did you do something like move that money? That's the importance of putting this towards the citizens. It's importance of moving it forward to the community and let them give us input. I'm hearing from some of the municipalities, so we're not going to support that. Then your citizens need to show up and speak, and let's build this as a community. Mayor Murphy refers to this as the people's plan. And I think it's time that we put it forward to the people. I have no doubt that the advocates for programs, whether it's the environmental element, whether it's the transit element, whether it's the roadway element, they're going to show up. So let's let them have their voice, and then we need to make sure we've got an opportunity to go to the ballot. This is 100% Ted Maxwell's opinion. We need to go in a position that if we don't succeed the first time, we've got time to go again before we stop the funding. And that's, Maricopa's they don't have that luxury right now. They're going to get one shot at the ballot.
Thank you. And then I think our last comment, Supervisor Scott.
Thank you. General Maxwell, thank you so much for your leadership. It is difficult to get all 9 of us to sound as favorable as we did back on September 5th about moving this forward to the public review period. But not only have you worked really hard to make sure that you understand the needs and concerns of all the different members, you've also kept our focus, as you did today, on the importance of regionalism and how that has to be our guiding principle as we're moving forward with this. And for my colleagues, it has been stated at the RTA board many times, over a third of Pima County residents live in unincorporated Pima County. And I feel that we are their voice because there isn't anybody else speaking out for them. And if we don't move forward with an RTA Next plan, the segment of the population that is going to be most deleteriously affected are people who live in the unincorporated portion of the county. General Maxwell, it is not ideal that we're going to be talking about costs to complete RTA 1 projects on September 26th, when we're also talking about moving an RTA Next plan forward into the public review period. But as you and I know, we didn't have a quorum in July. And so this discussion has been pushed forward. Could you give my colleagues, I know you touched on this earlier in response to a question from Supervisor Hines. Could you give my colleagues more of an idea of what we're going to be talking about in terms of the cost to complete discussion on September 26th?
Chair Grohol, Supervisor Scott, appreciate that. again, I like to make sure that we separate these conversations because they are about two different things. One's about completing what we promised and what we have right now, and the other's about our future. It's going to be a tough conversation because, as Supervisor Hein mentioned, the funds aren't there. The more I've interacted with the executive director, it's become more clear to me the funds aren't there. There's going to be some tough decisions that are going to be made. There's going to be some tough decisions on how we can do that. The board has voted in the past, and it was an 9-0 that we would complete all the RTA 1 projects. When we voted for that, nobody voted for how we're going to do it. So that conversation still has to happen. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be an honest, tough concept. I'm hoping it doesn't muddy the waters for getting something to the community on RTA Next. I truly believe this plan is as close as we're going to get to something that everybody, when I say everybody, I've targeted from the beginning a 9-0 vote. I've also said from the beginning that whatever plan goes forward, not everybody's, there's going to be parts of it, everyone is going to not like and parts that they're going to like. We're a diverse community. We're a large community, second largest county in the state of Arizona, over 1 million citizens, and with grossly different needs depending where you live in our community. So I'm hoping we'll put the conversation for RTA Next to bed, and then we'll get serious while we go out to the community and collect all this information on what they think of the RTA Next plan. Then we can get serious about having those hard discussions on how are we going to finish RTA 1.
Chair Galvin, just wanted to share with my colleagues that the county has questions about cost to complete. I meet with Ms. Lesher, Mr. DeBonis, Ms. Skinner from the Transportation Department, and Ms. Hiller from my office before every one of our meetings. We have questions about cost to complete that we were ready to pose in July, and we will pose them in September. But I also want you to know that we feel comfortable and confident about moving an RTA Next plan forward to the public review period, and we will be voting to do that. But thank you again, General Maxwell, for being here. And I know you're going to stay and watch Ms. Campbell get recognized.
That's part of the plan. Chair Graham, one thing I'd be remiss if I didn't say is the county staff has been incredibly involved and engaged on trying to get to a solution that works regional and county-wise throughout. So you've got a very talented staff inside of your Department of Transportation, and you've got great leadership going forward with it, and we hope to continue to work in it. I'm getting the sense I might get another question.
Supervisor Hines, quickly.
It's more of a process, and I would be happy to have you chime in, but this may be for Supervisor Scott and or staff, but for my benefit, actually, to remind me, and also for the public watching, like when RTA Next goes to the people to be sort of, reacted to, how, I guess, what's that process like? And do you anticipate, how does the RTA board decide to incorporate or not incorporate changes? Kind of how does that work?
Chair Graham, Supervisor Hines, that you've kind of already described what happens to it. Now, at the last meeting, there was discussion about how and who is going to collect the data. There's some talk about possibly bringing in a third party, in my mind, to augment what PAG's doing on their collection process as well. We want to make sure to get all the different areas of the county, and you are more than aware than anyone else how large this county is and how difficult sometimes it is to make getting to the constituents accessible because you have to go to them. That's a big part of it. The data will all be collected back in, compiled, put together. It'll be briefed on a routine basis. The collection period could be 3 to 6 months, depending on if we go to 6 months, we probably have to make a decision to move out of May and into November for the going to the ballot. It will be all put together, then it'll be brought back to the board. Ultimately, it's the board's decision at this point to make the movements based on the recommendations from the folks who interacted with the community input. They may bring to us some recommendations. Obviously, we'll rely a little bit on PAG staff, but we're also at that point going to be open to hearing from the other elected bodies. You've got Supervisor Scott as your point for your voice. So I'd strongly suggest if you've got ideas, go in that process. But process-wise, the plan is effectively in the hands of the board at this time.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we have quite a crowd over here. I see a lot of happy, familiar faces. We're going to go to addendum item number 1. It's our time certain item at 11:30. The presentation of proclamation to Carolyn Campbell, Coalition for Sonora and Desert Protection, proclaiming the day of Saturday, September 21st, 2024, to be Carolyn Campbell Appreciation Day, and I will move the item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. So this is a unique situation for me in the time that we've been here, and I don't know the last time it happened, but because of the timing, our mayor, Regina Romero, is here to read a proclamation from the city of Tucson, and then we have Ruben Reyes with Congressman Grijalva's office to also present something. So we have the federal, the city, and the state all here in appreciation of Carolyn Campbell. So you want to meet me down here? And then we're going to read a proclamation or two. Look at the party that's here for you. You can't make me cry. Okay. So this is yours. Anyone want to come up and help Carolyn hold some proclamations? Because she has a couple of them. Okay. All right. So first is, whereas in 1997, the pygmy owl received protection under the Federal Endangered Species Act, spurring more than 40 conservation and neighborhood groups to form the Coalition for the Sonoran Desert Protection. And whereas the coalition's primary goal was to bring sound science and planning into the equation, as Pima County developed, adopted, and began its implementation of the groundbreaking Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan. And whereas Carolyn Campbell served as executive director for the coalition for 26 years, leading it to become one of the most successful advocacy organizations in history of Pima County. And whereas her exemplary work earned tremendous respect among not only conservation community, but also the development community. And whereas her service on the county's SDCP steering committee was integral to the successful outcome of the committee's recommendations and the county's subsequent call for the bond election in 2004. And whereas Carolyn and the coalition participated in countless proposed land use projects and provided valuable recommendations to the Board of Supervisors regarding implementation of SDCP's conservation land system, influenced the conservation of natural open space throughout Pima County. And whereas she has been a tireless ambassador, sharing our community's experiences and lessons learned in implementing the SDCP with others across the county, encouraging them to pursue similar endeavors that balance conservation and economic health. And whereas the coalition under Carolyn's leadership has worked successfully with Pima County and Pima County voters to fund the purchase and preservation of more than 200,000 acres to protect wildlife and open spaces and connect wildlife linkages. And whereas, as a member of the 2006 Regional Transportation Plan Committee, Carolyn successfully advocated for the inclusion of funding in the plan for wildlife linkage projects and actively participated in the planning and implementation of the highly successful wildlife bridge and underpass for Oracle Highway completed in 2016. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims Saturday, September 21st to be Carolyn Campbell Appreciation Day, passed and adopted the 17th day of September 2021.
The proclamation we're due at my mayor and council meeting, the 25th, so you better be there, Carolyn. But today we have a certificate of appreciation and recognition. And before I read it, because it's a little short, but the proclamation from Pima County really says it all. everything I know about open space and biodiversity and wildlife, I learned from Carolyn Campbell. I've known Carolyn for at least 25 years. We were little bitty kids. And really, our conversations in very casual environments, right? Usually campaigns, really was about understanding and connecting all of the dots that she helped me understand that what's good for wildlife and open spaces is good for our community, and saving our beautiful Sonoran Desert and investing in urban spaces is exactly what we needed to do. And all of that connects with the work that you have been doing for 26 plus years, Carolyn. And I know that you had your start, well, semi-start, at the city as a council aide, and you understand both the city and the county, and not just the people, but the bureaucracies, and you know how to get things done, Carolyn. And I admire you very, very much for what you have done for decades now. So we're going to let you retire and rest for about, what, 3 months? And then appoint you to more committees and commissions. But in all seriousness, we really appreciate you and everything that you have done, not just for individuals, for Pima County and the Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan, which I was a county employee when that was happening. And it really has led in the nation in terms of what Pima County was doing to protect our gorgeous and unique Sonoran Desert. So on behalf of my office and the office of the mayor and the residents of the city of Tucson, it is with great pleasure that we thank you for 26 plus incredible years of fighting to protect our beautiful Sonoran Desert wildlife and wild spaces. Your commitment and tireless efforts on behalf of the Coalition for Sonoran Desert Protection will play a crucial role in helping safeguard the biodiversity of our desert. I wish you a happy retirement filled with joy and relaxation for about 3 months. Given under my hand and the seal of the city of Tucson, Arizona, this 17th day of September, 2024. Congratulations.
And Carolyn, I don't know if it would have been wise for us to put your name on a vote for this particular Congress. But obviously from our office, we want to also recognize you, give you the special certificate of special congressional recognition presented to Carolyn Campbell. You have been a true champion for the Sonoran Desert and our environment. Thank you for your leadership and your advocacy, and we are in a better place thanks to you. Raul told me this morning to let you know and let the audience know that any conversation on conservation in Southern Arizona must include the name of Carolyn Campbell. That is a must. And on a personal note, you know, I know that there's a Carolyn Campbell Day and Carolyn Campbell Day in Pima County, but I don't need a special day to remember you, because all I have to do is drive home and enjoy and observe the wonderful painted hills and other communities like that that have been saved and preserved because of your efforts. Without people like you, Carolyn, there is no Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan. Without people like you, people from all over the world will not be coming to our community to enjoy our great outdoors. That is the type of impact that you've had in our community. But I also want to stress one last final thing. I don't just see you as an environmental champion, because even though you are the true leader of such a coalition, you understand true coalition building, because I have seen you in fights for public education, and I have seen you year in and year out on the Cesar Chavez March for labor rights. So Thank you for everything you've done, not just for the environment, but for our entire community. Thank you. You will be missed in that leadership position, but you're the type of person that you're bigger than your position. I have a feeling that you're not really going to retire. So congratulations.
Can I say I'm speechless? Well, this is a little overwhelming, and to say that this is an honor or these are honors is definitely an understatement. But I definitely, as has been mentioned, I owe this, and I share this with all of our coalition groups and all of our coalition members who have taught me so much, that continue to teach me. I mean, I'm just a kind of a, as my friend Doug would say, a poli-sci gal, but I mean, I learn things from our members, the scientists, the experts, every single day. So I want to thank them first, and also the leadership of this board. The leadership of the Pima County elected officials is just unmatched. And in addition to this board, going back to the then Supervisor Raul Grijalva, who without him, this couldn't have been the kind of Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan that we have today. And I have to thank Ray Carroll and Ann Day and Dan Ekstrom. In those early days, we had such a strong kind of a understanding, I think, of it as we all grew up together. None of us ever had heard of a multi-species conservation plan in 1998. And the Pima County staff, under first Chuck Huckleberry's leadership and now Jan Lesher's, I mean, the professionalism and the compassion and the knowledge of the Pima County staff in so many ways is really, it kind of like overwhelms me in terms of the professionalism, and not just the county staff, but we have Fish and Wildlife Service, the Game and Fish, and all the people that we've worked with. And that includes recently retired Pima County staff that are sitting here. Incredible, yes. So I could talk all day about this. It's much easier to talk about issues than it is like a day called Carolyn Campbell Day. But just special homage to Maveen Behan and Richard Elias. And there's a special place in Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan heaven. Hopefully they're playing amongst the wildlife. But anyway, thank you. I'm so honored and all my friends and colleagues I've worked with on the steering committee and the bond committees and all around. And now can I talk about the RTA? No, just need more money for wildlife linkages, please. Anyway, thank you, Chair Grijalva. Thank you, Mayor Romero, and thank you, Ruben, and Congressman Grijalva.
Well, I was gonna, congratulations. Give her a big round of applause for that, yeah. So I was going to let everyone introduce themselves and who's here, but we have some more meeting to go. How many of you are here for Carolyn Campbell? Ta-da, there you are. So what I would love to do is ask if staff can, when we leave here, if staff can go out into the lobby and take a big group picture so we can share that, because I know that we have a lot of community members, organizations, current and former county and city staff members that are just very appreciative for your leadership. So thank you so much. And thank you for letting us do this and bring you up here, because you deserve more than just a day. Absolutely. But okay, thanks. So do you want to do that? Yep. Okay. So let's take a quick picture right now. We'll go outside and get another picture. No. Thank you. Okay, if y'all want to go into the lobby, let's take a big group picture and a group hug, shall we? Take a quick
course. Absolutely.